I woke up on a Monday morning with the kind of silence that makes your skin crawl. The room was dim, the early sunlight barely piercing the heavy drapes. My eyes darted around, trying to grasp what was off. The bed was unevenly made, half empty, and a crisp envelope lay on the dresser. My heart sank as I reached for it, knowing deep inside that something was horribly wrong. My name is Michael, and until that day, I believed I had my life well in hand. I was a marketing manager at a reputable firm in Columbus, Ohio, married to Rebecca for nearly 8 years. We had built a comfortable, steady life, a small but cozy home, quiet weekends, and evenings filled with the predictable routine of dinners and television. But that morning, the envelope shattered every illusion I had clung to. Inside was a note, written in Rebecca's familiar hand, simply stating, "I'm leaving." No explanations, no apologies, just cold, unadorned truth. At first, I thought it must be a mistake. I reread the note, trying to find any hint of misunderstanding. But as the minutes ticked by and my phone remained silent, I realized the truth was inescapable. Rebecca had walked out of my life, leaving behind a quiet devastation that threatened to collapse the very foundation of who I thought I was. The shock of her departure turned into a relentless search for answers. I remembered fragments of conversation over the past few months, subtle shifts in her tone, late-night texts she tried to hide, furtive glances at her phone. But nothing had prepared me for the brutal reality. Rebecca had left me for someone else. And the person at the center of her new life wasn't some secret coworker or a fleeting romance. It was a social media star named Savannah. Savannah was everything I wasn't. She lived in a whirlwind of digital attention and glamorous escapades, posting pictures from exotic locations and living a life that seemed scripted for a screen. Rebecca had become entranced by Savannah's vibrant online presence, drawn to the allure of a lifestyle filled with adventure and instant validation. As I pieced together their interactions, it became clear that what had started as admiration had escalated into an all-consuming infatuation. The first days after her departure were a blur of anger and disbelief. I sat alone in our once-shared living room, my eyes burning red from too many sleepless nights, replaying every moment we had shared. I questioned every word, every smile, every silence. How could I have been so blind? My phone was filled with unanswered messages, and every time I tried calling her, it went straight to voicemail. It was as if the woman I had loved had evaporated into the digital ether. I couldn't just sit and stew in misery. I needed to know more. Determined, I dug into our old emails, text messages, and even social media interactions. In one chat log, I discovered a series of late-night messages from Rebecca that mentioned freedom and a life beyond routine. I had been living in a bubble of predictability, and somehow she'd found a way out, a way that involved not just leaving me, but embracing a life that sparkled in the glow of smartphone screens. Refusing to be a victim of my circumstances, I decided to take action. I quit my job for a few days, telling my boss I needed time off to clear my head. I rented a car and drove aimlessly through the outskirts of Columbus, my mind a storm of conflicting emotions. I didn't have a destination. I only had the need to escape the suffocating memories of our shared life. One rainy evening, as I was parked by a nearly empty highway rest stop, I met Carter, a rugged, no-nonsense kind of guy with a deep scar running down one cheek. Carter was sitting alone at a diner, nursing a cup of black coffee and staring out the window as if waiting for a sign. Something about him resonated with me, a shared look of defiance against life's unfair twists. Over a meal of greasy fries and cold coffee, Carter told me about his own battles with betrayal and loss. He had been jilted by a lover who left him for a younger, flashier man. Carter's story was raw, unfiltered, and it hit home. For the first time in days, I realized I wasn't alone in my pain. Inspired by Carter's unapologetic approach to rebuilding his life, I began to make changes. I started training, pushing myself physically as a way to channel the anger and hurt. The gym became my refuge, a place where sweat and determination replaced tears and regret. I also enrolled in a self-defense class, learning how to take control of my life both mentally and physically. Every drop of sweat, every bruise earned in practice, was a step toward reclaiming the man I thought I had lost. But life, as it often does, had more surprises in store. While I was immersed in my newfound routines, I received an unexpected message on social media. It was from a mutual acquaintance, someone who had known Rebecca even before our marriage. Alex. Alex wrote, "Saw something you might be interested in. It's about Rebecca and Savannah. Meet me at the Rusty Anchor tomorrow at 8. I was wary at first. I didn't know what Alex intended, but curiosity gnawed at me. Could this be the break I needed, a chance to see the truth for myself? That evening, I sat in a corner booth at the Rusty Anchor, a small bar near the river, its neon sign flickering in the damp night. I was tense, my heart pounding in anticipation. Moments later, Alex arrived. A wiry man with a quick smile and eyes that had seen too much. He slid into the seat opposite me without a word and opened his worn leather bag. Inside, he produced a small stack of photographs and several printed screenshots. They showed Rebecca and Savannah together, but not in the way I expected. Instead of secret rendezvous in dimly lit rooms or whispered conversations behind closed doors, the images revealed something much darker. In one photo, I saw Rebecca looking conflicted as she clutched a handwritten note. In another, Savannah was seen in an argument, her face red with anger. The screenshots captured heated messages exchanged between the two, messages that hinted at a business deal gone wrong, a tangled web of money, influence, and betrayal. Alex explained in a low, urgent tone that what I had thought was a simple case of infidelity was actually part of a larger, more dangerous scheme. Savannah wasn't just a pretty face on the internet. She was a pawn in a high-stakes game involving celebrity endorsements, shady investments, and even extortion. It turned out that Rebecca had been more than just a passive admirer of Savannah's world. She had been actively involved, using her own connections to broker deals that skirted the edges of legality. When things started spiraling out of control, and Savannah's true nature as a ruthless, calculating woman emerged, Rebecca had tried to back out. But there was no easy exit when money and secrets were on the line. Alex's information hinted at a potential conspiracy, one that stretched far beyond the personal betrayal I had initially felt. My mind raced. The woman I had loved wasn't merely chasing a glamorous lifestyle. She was entangled in something dangerous, something that could ruin lives. I couldn't sit idly by while this mystery unfolded. With Carter's encouragement and the support of a few new friends from the gym, I decided to dig deeper. I contacted Alex and arranged to meet him again, this time in a more secure location. Over a series of late-night meetings in rundown motels and quiet coffee shops, Alex and I pieced together the puzzle. It became evident that Savannah had built her online persona on a foundation of lies and manipulation. Behind her flawless Instagram posts and viral videos was a network of associates who managed lucrative deals that were often on the edge of legality. Rebecca, once a kind-hearted and devoted wife, had been lured into this world by promises of excitement and wealth. When the initial thrill faded and the real risks emerged, she attempted to extricate herself, but not before she had made enemies. The deeper I delved into this underworld, the more I realized that my own life was in danger. I began receiving anonymous calls at odd hours, each time with nothing more than heavy breathing on the other end. My car was followed on my drive home from the gym. The sense of looming peril was unmistakable, yet I couldn't turn back. The truth was too compelling, and my own need for redemption pushed me forward. One night, as I was returning from a meeting with Alex in an industrial part of town, a black SUV tailgated me. The engine growled as it matched every turn I made. I felt my heart hammering against my ribs. I sped up, darting through side streets, but the SUV remained relentless. Finally, I pulled into a nearly deserted parking lot and parked behind a row of warehouses. My instincts screamed at me to stay hidden. Minutes later, a figure emerged from the shadows, a tall, imposing man with a scarred face. "Michael," he called in a gravelly voice. "I'm here to talk." I realized immediately that this wasn't just a random encounter. The man identified himself as Donovan, a fixer working for one of Savannah's less scrupulous partners. Donovan's words were laced with a threat. "Stay out of things that don't concern you, or you'll be next." Fear and adrenaline warred within me, but I refused to be cowed. "I've seen too much to back down now," I replied, my voice steadier than I felt. That night, I realized that I was not only fighting for the truth about Rebecca and Savannah, I was fighting for my life. Over the following days, I tightened security around myself. I changed my routines, parked in different lots, and even got a temporary guard dog from a local shelter. I also reached out to Carter and some of my new gym friends, forming an informal network of allies. Together, we began investigating further. With Carter's street smarts and my own meticulous attention to detail, we tracked several key figures connected to the conspiracy. Every piece of evidence we uncovered painted a picture of an elaborate scam that preyed on the vulnerable and exploited the allure of social media fame. One rainy evening, while reviewing new documents Alex had passed along, I discovered a ledger that linked Savannah's associates to several fraudulent investment schemes. It was a breakthrough, proof that this wasn't just about personal betrayal, but about a calculated criminal enterprise. The ledger detailed transactions, dates, and names that suggested high-level money laundering. And among those names, shockingly, was Rebecca's. I felt a bitter twist of pain as I realized that the woman I had trusted had been involved in something far more sinister than I'd ever imagined. Armed with this evidence, I decided it was time to confront the truth head-on. I reached out to Rebecca, asking for one last meeting, a chance to explain everything. I arranged to meet her at an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the city, a neutral place where secrets could be laid bare away from prying eyes. As I waited in the dim light of a single hanging bulb, my thoughts churned. Was this the moment when I'd finally understand why she had chosen a dangerous new life over our safe, predictable one? When she arrived, she was not the woman I remembered. Gone was the gentle smile, replaced by eyes that flickered with remorse and fear. We exchanged terse greetings before the confrontation began. "Michael," she started, her voice trembling, "I never meant for it to go this far." Her words tumbled out in a rush. She spoke of debts she had incurred on behalf of someone she believed was protecting her, a man who had promised her freedom from mediocrity. Savannah, she said, had been both a savior and a captor. "I thought I could handle it," she continued. "I thought I could find a way out without hurting you." But as she explained, it became clear that she had been in too deep, trapped in a world of dangerous alliances and ruthless enemies. Her confession was raw and painful, yet I couldn't help but feel a spark of understanding amid the betrayal. I pressed her for details about the conspiracy, about the people who had manipulated her. She hesitated, then whispered a name. Marcus, a notorious figure in the underground world of social media fraud and extortion. Marcus, she claimed, was the mastermind who had drawn her in with promises of wealth and escape. "I tried to leave, Michael," she pleaded. "But once you're in, there's no way out. They threatened everything. My family, my future." Her eyes darted around as if expecting Marcus to burst through the door at any moment. The meeting ended as abruptly as it had begun. I left the warehouse with a heavy heart and a resolve hardened by the truth. I now understood that the betrayal wasn't just personal. It was a symptom of a larger, more insidious problem. Savannah, Marcus, and their network had exploited not only Rebecca's vulnerabilities, but also the gullibility of millions who were lured by the glitter of social media. And in this dangerous game, I had unwittingly become both a pawn and a potential threat. Over the next several weeks, I embarked on a mission that blurred the lines between revenge and justice. With Carter's help and the discreet cooperation of a few trusted contacts, I began gathering evidence against Marcus and his associates. Every meeting in a dimly lit parking lot, every hushed conversation in a back alley, brought me closer to uncovering a network that had defrauded thousands. My journey took me from seedy bars to upscale lounges, each step revealing more about a world where image and illusion reigned supreme. One night, while meeting a former employee of one of Marcus's companies, I learned about an upcoming gathering, a secret event where key players in the fraud ring would convene. The event was scheduled to take place at an abandoned theater on the edge of town. This was my chance to confront the masterminds behind it all, to expose the network and perhaps even force Rebecca to come clean about her part in the scheme. I spent days preparing. I coordinated with Carter and a couple of tech-savvy friends who could hack into the event's guest list and security systems. We planned every detail meticulously. On the night of the event, I donned a nondescript jacket and headed for the theater. The building loomed ahead, a decaying relic of a bygone era, its once grand facade now marred by graffiti and broken windows. Inside, I could hear murmurs of conversation and the clinking of glasses. I slipped into the shadows, determined to observe, record, and gather whatever evidence I could. The event was a surreal blend of high-stakes business and masked pretension. Men in expensive suits and women in glamorous dresses mingled with the underworld's rougher elements. I managed to record several key conversations that mentioned Marcus's next big scheme, a plan that would defraud an international consortium of investors. As I listened, I recognized one voice from my past, a familiar trembling tone that belonged to Rebecca. She was there, clearly conflicted and visibly distressed by the proceedings. I watched as she tried to extricate herself from a heated discussion with a man who looked like he belonged on a wanted poster. In that charged moment, everything came into focus. The web of deceit, the personal betrayal, and the criminal conspiracy all converged into one undeniable truth. Rebecca had been a willing participant, forced by circumstance and manipulated by the allure of a dangerous promise. My anger flared anew, not just at the loss of our relationship, but at the corruption that had twisted everything I thought I knew about love and loyalty. I managed to slip away from the event with enough recorded evidence to bring down Marcus's operation. But as I was leaving the theater's dark corridors, I found myself cornered by two burly men. They were sent by Marcus to silence anyone who dared to expose him. A fierce struggle ensued. My heart pounded as I fought desperately, adrenaline surging through my veins. Just when it seemed I might be overpowered, Carter and a couple of my allies from the gym burst in, scattering my attackers with brutal efficiency. The confrontation was over in minutes, but its impact on me was lasting. In that moment, I realized that I had transformed, from a man shattered by betrayal to someone willing to risk everything for the sake of truth and justice. In the days that followed, I handed over the evidence to a trusted investigative journalist named Rebecca, a coincidence that never failed to irk me, who had a reputation for exposing corruption. The ensuing exposé rocked the local community and sent shockwaves through the national media. Marcus's network began to crumble as law enforcement, spurred by the flood of evidence, raided several of his operations. Savannah's carefully crafted online persona was exposed as a facade built on exploitation and crime. Rebecca, facing the full force of public scrutiny and legal repercussions, vanished from the public eye, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions and shattered lives. I found myself at a crossroads. The personal pain of losing the woman I loved had intermingled with the burden of having inadvertently helped bring down a criminal empire. In the aftermath, I struggled to reconcile the man I was with the man I had become. I had learned painful lessons about trust, deception, and the high price of ambition. The betrayal that once felt like the end of my world had become the catalyst for a transformation I never anticipated. In the months that followed, I retreated from the public eye, seeking solace in the quiet corners of everyday life. I returned to the gym, to the long runs along the river, and to solitary moments of reflection in my modest apartment. The scars of my journey were etched deeply within me, but so was the knowledge that I had found the strength to rise again. I began to write, not as a way to wallow in sorrow, but as a means to chronicle the lessons learned and the truths uncovered. My blog, once a small outpouring of raw emotion, had grown into a platform where others could share their stories of resilience and redemption. There were moments of unexpected peace. I reconnected with old friends and forged new alliances with people who had also been touched by the darker side of the digital age. I even met someone new, a woman named Jessica, who worked as a cybersecurity consultant. Jessica had her own story of loss and reinvention, and our shared experiences created an immediate bond. Our conversations were filled with honesty and humor, a welcome counterpoint to the grim realities of the past months. With her, I learned to laugh again, to trust in the possibility of new beginnings even after facing the worst betrayals life could offer. Yet, there remained an undercurrent of unresolved questions. I often wondered if I had truly ever known Rebecca. Had the woman I loved been a victim of her own naivety, or had she willingly stepped into a world of danger and deceit? The answer remained elusive, a puzzle that haunted me during quiet nights and early morning reflections. I realized that sometimes the people we think we understand are far more complex than we allow ourselves to see. And while the answers might never come, I had found a way to move forward. My journey from heartbreak to self-discovery had taken me through corridors of betrayal, danger, and unexpected heroism. I had learned that even when the world seems rigged against you, you have the power to rewrite your story. I had been forced to confront my darkest fears, and in doing so, I discovered a resilience I never knew existed. The echoes of that fateful Monday morning still reverberated through my mind, but they no longer defined me. Instead, They served as a reminder that every twist in life, no matter how devastating, can also be an opportunity for growth. Looking back now, as I sit at my computer typing these words, I realize that the path I walked was one of both loss and unexpected liberation. I had lost my wife to the glittering lure of an online persona, but in that loss, I had found the courage to reclaim my own identity. The conspiracy that had nearly consumed me became a testament to the strength of ordinary people when they refused to be defined by tragedy. Today, I continue to write, not just as a chronicler of my own journey, but as a beacon for others who find themselves betrayed by the illusions of modern life. The digital age, with all its promises of connection and glamour, hides shadows that can ensnare even the most unsuspecting hearts. But in those shadows, I have learned, lies the potential for a new dawn, one forged by truth, determination, and the unyielding will to survive. Every day brings its own challenges, its own moments of quiet victory and hard-won peace. I no longer see my scars as marks of defeat, but as symbols of battles fought and lessons learned. And while I may never fully understand why Rebecca made the choices she did, I have come to accept that our paths were meant to diverge. The twist in my life was not a random act of cruelty. It was the catalyst that forced me to evolve, to confront a hidden world of deception, and to ultimately become the man I am today. I share this story with those who might be struggling in their own battles. A reminder that even in the midst of betrayal and loss, there is a chance to rebuild, to rise, and to find unexpected strength. The journey is never linear, and sometimes the most treacherous roads lead to the most profound discoveries. I have learned to trust again, to open my heart to new possibilities, and to cherish the hard-won moments of genuine connection. As I wrap up this chapter of my life, I know that there are still many questions left unanswered. The dark network that once threatened to overwhelm us may still be out there, lurking behind digital facades and whispered threats. But I have taken control of my narrative. I have transformed my pain into purpose, and I have discovered that the courage to face the truth is far more powerful than any illusion of perfection. So here I am, a man who lost everything in one brutal moment, only to find a deeper truth beneath the rubble. My life took a twist I never expected, one that led me through the heart of betrayal and into the arms of resilience. And while the wounds may never fully heal, they serve as a constant reminder that even when the world seems to crumble, there is always a way to rebuild. Every day, I wake up with gratitude for the second chance I've been given. A chance to write my story on my own terms, a chance to find hope amidst the ruins. In the end, what started as a personal tragedy turned into an odyssey that changed everything. I stand not as a broken man, but as someone who has confronted his demons and emerged stronger. I have learned that life is unpredictable, that love can be as dangerous as it is beautiful, and that sometimes the darkest nights give way to the brightest dawns. And as I continue to forge my own path, I carry with me the lessons of betrayal, danger, and redemption. A constant reminder that the twists in our lives, however painful, can lead to the most unexpected and transformative journeys.